Hey everybody, it's Melissa here from Define and Design. Very excited for our day 5 of the Power Up Brand Bootcamp, and here I am today actually live from campus due to my not paying attention to my schedule. So here I am live on campus, and Julia also surprised in her schedule was a trip to New York, so she is currently on a train, which is not the most ideal spot for her to be joining us. So here we are today. We are recapping what we've done this week, going to look at what we did, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper with some of our participants today to talk about what they've uncovered and how it all kind of connects together. So just to recap, what we started off with this week was the power of storytelling and the power of your own story. When it comes to the kinds of messaging that we can use to connect with our audience, we want to be able to come up with something that resonates with them, but something that is also very authentic and true about you. So a really good place to start in figuring out what that story is your why. And I know that's kind of a phrase that gets tossed around a lot, particularly these days. But it's because there is something to it, right? When we can dig a little bit deeper to figure out why it is that we're doing what we're doing, it makes us more vulnerable for people to understand who we are and want to connect with us. So we look at that why, and then we take that essentially as the foundation for the stories that we're going to build in our marketing content and our communications. So everything all funnels essentially back to that. And then what we followed that up with on day 2 was how do we sell our value? So it's kind of like that notion in day 1, we look at how do we get connected with that audience on an emotional level. And then on day 2, we look at how are we going to be presenting ourselves to our audience to really make sure that we're showing the value that we drive or that we deliver. So in that value, it's looking at what is it that you're doing, what is it about you as that business owner that kind of adds that extra pizzazz, that value, that sparkle, that shine, whatever it is that you want to call it. And the really awesome part is that value doesn't have to be something out of this world about you. It can be as regular as anything else, and as long as you pick on it to say that I do this particular thing really well, then you just make sure that we're really pushing and promoting that when you're talking about yourself. And then so with that, looking at really pushing the value of what comes with buying our product or service, then we looked at further connecting with the audience in terms of understanding our audience. So we've got some of the foundation for the messaging that we can be putting to them, but then we need to make sure that we're connecting with the right audience and the audience that wants to hear what it is that we have to say. And the exercise that we worked through with that one was kind of looking at our audience from a psychographic aspect, trying to figure out their motivations and their frustrations and how we can speak to those. And then yesterday we looked at brand management overall. So how do we keep the train going, right? We don't want to keep it in the station. So with that lovely recap, let's see if we can get a volunteer, or I guess a voluntold. I've already assigned. Let's put all 4 of these dates together. So why don't we start off with Lynn? Mm-hmm. Why don't you say hello, Lynn?
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. I have coffee. One of the perks of being on campus, I can have coffee instead of I love my tea, but I always drink tea at home. Anyway, so Lynn, let's circle you back to your day 1. Let's go back to that foundation of your business, your why. What was it that you had come up with?
All right, my why, and it's actually two-sided, because one of my whys is because I love what I do. Mm-hmm. It's my passion, but also because of my passion, my why is to help to inspire and motivate people to improve their life and to help them achieve their goals, to bring those right energies to them.
Perfect. Now let's just dig a little bit deeper. So you said because you love what you do. What is it about what you do that you love?
It's easy.
Pardon me? It's
It's
easy.
easy.
You can't just say that. So, I mean, because I could say, I love what I do, but why is it that I love what I
I
do?
love what I do because I get to work, I get to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I get to work with that aspect
Mm-hmm.
of me. Plus, I get to work with the intuitive side of me
Mm-hmm.
and combining the two. And I have started using gemstones
Mm-hmm.
on the lockets rather than just crystals,
Yeah.
particularly with the silver. And I get a shipment of gemstones in, and I could sit there for hours, and I'm looking at them, and they're all sparkly, and
Mm-hmm.
and I love it. And I feel that I have finally found what I want to do when I grow up.
Okay.
Like I say, it's a part of me.
Now I'm gonna push you a little bit farther on that.
Mm-hmm.
So where you're saying you finally found what you want to do, and you're saying you're finally in something that's that creative aspect where you get to be that artist.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at why you, so if you love so much that you get to do that now, is it because when through your younger years you weren't ever allowed to follow that path? You were always told that that's
Exactly.
not a career path, and now you're at a point in your life and you're saying, you know what, I am pursuing it and I am making this my path.
Absolutely. When I was younger, of course, there's that generation difference, obviously. But when we were at school, you either took art or you took business. And I was pushed into the business side of it. And I mean, I did. I hated it
Mm-hmm.
because I am more right-brained than left-brained. And there was the thought that too many starving artists,
Mm-hmm.
so you cannot go into art. And my parents did everything to discourage that. My mom, in the last years of her life, looked at me one day and she said, you know, you should really be an artist. I said, thanks, Mom, I am. You know, so yeah, that was the huge part of it, is because I was not allowed and I was discouraged from it
Mm-hmm.
in every way possible. But I have grown into it, and a lot of it too is confidence,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember there was a time that I was playing around with watercolors and I really didn't like what I had done. And a friend of mine came over, liked it. I said, oh God, here, you can have them. About 6 months later, I went to her house and I was down in her basement and she had some watercolors all framed on her wall. And I said, oh, are they ever nice? I really like those. She started to laugh and she said, yeah, take a look at the signature. And it was my work. So
A little bit of an eye-opener for you.
it really was. And Russ, my husband, he has encouraged me a long way with this, as well as my kids.
Mm-hmm.
They've been a good help.
Yeah. So kind of when you think, when you look at the multiple versions of stories that you could use, when you talk about, when you, rather than just saying, I love what I do, you can attach the because on there. I love what I do, or because I spent how many years thinking I could never pursue this kind of career path, and now here I am, and I've proven to myself that I can. And it's that confidence that I have now, it's that creative outlet, it's the support that I have, it's all of these pieces that allows me to do it, and I channel those positive energies into my pieces,
Mm-hmm.
which then I bring to you.
Yes.
Okay. So anyways, so then when we look at, so we'll shift from that onto the value that you deliver. And I actually think that we kind of just like tacked some value in that statement there. But what did you come up with around the value aspect?
Now, are you talking the values? Because
Oh, sorry. So skipping over to day 2. So
yeah.
So we just kind of came under the, so looking at, what's the foundation of what you can be talking about. And it's you love what you do, you have that creative outlet, you have all of those pieces. And then what's the value that comes with that?
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because with that you had put character traits, skills, and values that we had to answer.
Oh yeah, sorry. So, okay, so you know what? Let's go through those three particular things. So what would you say are three character traits?
Well, I put caring, communication, understanding, and discretion, and honesty. And these traits help because it allows me to put people at ease.
Yeah.
So they know that they can trust me. With the discretion, they know that what we talk about doesn't go any farther.
Yeah.
The skills that help me with my clients are, the big one is my creativity. Well, the two big ones, my creativity and my intuition. Because I couldn't do what I do without them.
Right.
And then my values, honesty, commitment, wisdom, friendliness, and my clients' values are friendliness, trust, and caring, because one, they trust me to help them. Caring, because oftentimes they will buy pieces for other people who need those specific energies. And the combined values that really align are being honest with each other and listening, communication.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And the big thing about me that adds value to my product is my uniqueness, my caring, my imagination, and my creativity, and my intuition.
Yeah. Yeah, so, sorry, say it again.
Was that what you kind of meant by? Okay.
Yes. Yes. So we can look at, what are those individual things about you, and when we think of them in relation to that audience, where do we see alignment in there? And not just that, but when we think of that kind of the unique something that you're bringing, you have a 25 plus year career as a professional psychic, as an intuitive, developing those skills, building that reputation, right? So you can leverage that in itself,
yes,
as part of what you're doing, right? So kind of like yesterday, you had asked a question around, should you combine the two? But by all means, right? When you combine the two, then you play one off of the other, and it kind of sits that way. And then, when you think about the traits and the characteristics and stuff that you have, you could talk about, as you're creating pieces, what are the thoughts and feelings that you're having, or what was it that inspired you to make a particular piece or something like that, or that, you can share a story without revealing the details of the individual or like the personal details, share a story of, I was approached by a client who asked me to make a piece for their daughter who's experiencing this. So after I sat and I focused on it, what I came up with was a piece such as blah, 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 this is how I created it, and that kind of thing, right? So you let people know, you let people inside the process.
All right. And the process, it doesn't really involve me thinking.
But you don't want to tell people that.
Well, I'm literally, no, but I'm told.
I know, you're listening. I know, but you don't have to say thinking then, you it's still focusing, right?
Yes, it is.
You're focusing on something to be told, right? So, you go from you could share things like that, right?
All right. Well, honestly, if I go to put the wrong crystals on, they'll fall off.
Right. So then that's where you can add in kind of that, where your tagline is inspired by spirit.
Yeah.
Right. That it's the influence of the influence of the energies in the, I'm not going to say, I can't think of the other word, but the energies in the space around you.
Yes.
That do that, right? Yeah. Okay, so there we've kind of got that, what are those aspects of the value that can go in there. Those are just a few examples that could be there. So let's shift over to talking about your audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so yesterday we talked about a particular client of yours, and what was it? What were the pieces that we came up with, kind of about her, that made her that ideal?
Okay. I switched when I did my homework last night. I switched over to a different client.
Okay.
Because it was simpler. It wasn't so complicated.
Yeah.
And her name is Gilda. She is a sales rep for Mary Kay.
Mm-hmm.
She was frustrated because her sales were lower than she wanted them to be, and no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't bring them up. So Gilda purchased an Unlock It. Within a month, her sales tripled.
Oh, wow.
Of wearing it. And she actually bought one of the original ones.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that her Unlock It helped her with was confidence. Right? Confidence in communication. Mm-hmm. So when her confidence improved and she started making more sales, it motivated her to keep going.
Okay, good. So we're gonna pause for a second, and we're gonna talk about that story.
Mm-hmm.
So when we so as I said earlier this week, as we talked about earlier this week, that storytelling is one of the most effective ways of communicating with our audience. A story like that is like bang on, right? Because people feel that there's the problem, here's the journey. It's actually called a hero story. So, you have your individual that's experiencing a struggle. You talk about some of the barriers that they face, some of the challenges, and then you talk about the moment, the like, oh, glory, hallelujah moment, and then the success that comes out of it, right? So when you look at someone like Gilda, so we know that the solution was the piece that gave her the confidence, etc. But the problem, the everyday problem that she was experiencing was the lack of sales.
Yes.
So that's kind of like what we were talking about yesterday, that, you don't want to just say, are you lacking confidence? Are you lacking clarity? Because people don't connect with that quite in the same way, whereas if you position it of, I had this client, this is what they were experiencing. We did this, and we solved it by solving a root problem.
All right.
Okay. So that's, when you look, okay. So that's why it's so valuable to look at who are my current clients that I feel are that ideal client. Mm-hmm. Kind of pick out those pieces like that. So then when you're communicating, let's just say, so if you're communicating with someone like Gilda in mind, and you take it back to what's my why, what's my value, how do I do that? So then throughout the weaving of the hero story, you're making sure that you drop in the extra value that comes out of what you do. So that, you picked out the piece for her that you were intuitively guided to do this, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Okay. Does that all make sense?
It does, except that it's better when they pick out the piece themselves.
Okay, well, yes.
No, but it is important because the inner self knows what you need.
Yeah.
The subconscious knows if the conscious doesn't.
Okay, so then in which case you're still, you're describing, she picked out something, and then you can throw in there, when I make my pieces, this is what it is. When the individual selects the pieces, they're selecting the right one that is for them.
Yes.
Not that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you know what? Why don't we hop over to Will, and we can go through with what you've got on yours, Will.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start off with that kind of that why, the kind of the beginning of kind of what brought you to photography.
The why is like I always loved it. Growing up as a kid, I always like was interested in photography, like using my old parents' film camera and just playing around, taking pictures, and then growing up and going through school, high school, taking art. But during that time, like what Lynn said, my parents didn't believe it was a career. They just thought it was just a fun hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of wanted me to go a direction where where it makes money like that. And so I just did it on the side, and then went into school, went to college, took engineering, took a degree in engineering, and did that. But I wasn't happy. Like that wasn't me and who I was. But I did it over years, just working at a desk job, and just not very happy. And then I just basically photography came back to me after I think I started back shooting when I went on a trip to Chile to visit my relatives. Started that was maybe 17 years, 15 years ago now, and it just was fun again taking pictures. And then after I met my wife, we started dating, and then basically starting off with her sister's wedding as a gift. It kind of brought back what I love to do. It's more being the creative person. Seeing capturing what I can see, what people see,
Mm-hmm.
capturing that. So then that's what brought back that feeling, that why I wanted to get back into it and try sitting down at desk is not me.
Yeah.
It was never me. And after my wife gave me the go ahead to go for it, the support, she saw a lot of changes of me being more positive, getting out there, and also being more communicative, because growing up I was a very shy person.
Mm-hmm.
Kept to myself. I was very an introvert, very introvert person. And now I'm totally the opposite. I can just go and talk to people, no problem, getting out there. Because I think that kind of helped me as a tool to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone has a safety blanket. The camera was mine at the beginning, because I now talk, host classes and talk to people. And then usually I get 10 people. And if that was the old me, I would not be able to do that and stand up in front of people and talk. And now it's I can do it without any problem and all that. So that kind of created a big, major boost in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And who I really am. And, and that's why I bring out, if I feel more confident now, I bring out the people I work with. They feel confident because they see someone who's very confident, knows what they're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I like. Yeah, so that's why I love it. I want to be my own person. I want to be my own boss. I've done the whole 9 to 5 sit down at a desk, have someone else tell me what to do. And that's not me. I don't like to be told what to do. Only my wife can tell me what to do.
You are a smart husband.
Yes. Some days I don't listen, but then I hear it later. No, yeah, that's the reason why. And this has always been something in me that I always loved. And it's just more being the creative person I can be.
Mm-hmm. See, and I love that story, that whole kind of the recognition of how taking the opportunity to actually follow the interest or the passion can actually create the overall better life for you. I'm not quite sure how to do it just yet, but I wonder if there's something in that you can leverage in that when whether it's on the about page, or it's something that kind of gets incorporated into let's say those stories on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
Where you'd be this is me living my best life kind of thing. that could be a really interesting tie-in somewhere. I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily use that as the kind of as the foundation piece.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely really good building blocks on it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, like I feel like you're never too old to follow what you want to do. Like, yeah, I'm older and like I'm behind other people, but that's not stopping me for what I love to do.
Yeah, and
So,
that's good. You know, it's the
Mhm.
kind of the dedication to pursue. That
yeah,
would probably be good in there. The dedication to pursue and the the personal growth and the personal growth and what you've gained through it that has helped you to not just be a better photographer,
mm-hmm.
but to better engage with your audience, sorry, with your customers, your
Yeah,
clients, um, your muses, if you will, and set them at ease, right?
yeah,
Yeah, because I think kind of like what you said in there, that when you're confident behind the camera, they can be more confident in front of the camera.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so, and you know what? I think that you know what kind of what we talked about there, that also ties into the value of what you bring there, right? So it's those pieces, but then when we look at the technical aspects as well, right? You know, when we look at your work, particularly with the portraits and stuff like that, like and I have no idea because I'm not a photographer, so I don't know if it's always like done in the moment or if it's the editing that does it. But like the composition and the lighting and everything, you really do have that really good eye for it, and the images are just so striking, right? So I think from a technical aspect, you probably have a lot that you can be talking about in those kinds of skills as well.
Yeah.
So then, kind of like what we were saying with Lynn there, that it's having the balance of talking about you know, here's the soft stuff about me that gives me that value, but then here's the technical, the skill part that I bring to the table as well. And it's kind of like you catch the people with the soft stuff where you get them feeling like, ooh, that's nice. And then you catch them on like, and you know what, I really do know what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, now I have confidence in him.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, it's essentially how I got here. It's kind of like when you go in for a job interview.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what, I can connect everything I do with career counseling into branding. Anyways. Okay, so then when we look at your audience, and I know you have kind of a couple different audiences based on what you're going after, whether it's wedding or whether it's the kind of corporate branding, business branding, or whether you're doing portraits. That individual kind of changes a little bit, but if we were to focus in on, let's say, one of them, who would you say from an existing client that you've worked with, who would be that ideal client?
So I think I go with the wedding.
Okay.
Because those would be my ideal clients. The one I worked with was in July, like July 1st, they had their wedding in Canada, and they were like, I know them, they're like friends, but she wanted just a fun wedding. Like, that was the one with the red dress, that really feathery. So that's the type who's like excited, really pumped about their wedding, and just wanted to have a good day and good time. And those are my ideal clients, because once you get that feeling that they just want to have fun, it makes everything much better, like much more fun.
Yeah.
Compared to ones where I dealt with where they were too serious. They just took it like, it's just a wedding, like that. Like I know, like they spend a lot of money on this, so I really want the ones whom they know they're spending the money, but they know they're going to have fun, and they just want to have, it's their day to have fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then, I mean, this exercise, where the questions are like, what's the frustration, what's the problem, what's the motivation, etc. That is a little bit kind of, I'm going to say different in regard to you, because it's not like you're going to say, the frustration of my client is as easy for me to say the frustration of my client, but kind of what you were just saying there, where you think of what are the potential frustrations for that bride and groom on their wedding day. What are the things they don't want to be worried about on the wedding day? And that's the, you don't have to worry about telling their photographer what to do. You don't have to be worrying about how is this going to turn out. You don't have to worry about all these other things, because they can depend on you to do what needs to be done so that they can have that fun and that you can capture those moments, and kind of look at it, I guess, maybe from that perspective might make it a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's normally when I sit down with them. I talk to them like usually a week or 2 weeks before their wedding, and we go over their plan. That basically say that your day is to have fun. It's like it's my job to make sure I get the stuff done, and because it's not your job to worry about what I'm doing. You gave me we go over a list that I create to say what do you want that day. The main stuff is always they want pictures of their family, pictures of the wedding party. And those are my main, I want to make sure I get those done because I don't want them, not knowing, where are those pictures? But that's, to them, it's because you got a million other things going in your mind that day. So it's like, to them, it's don't worry, I got it covered. I'll make sure, everything's done on my part and you're not stressing out. And they said, the only time I'll come to you is at the end of the day when I'm done. That we're finished and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and that's good.
Yeah, I always want to make sure they know that they're comfortable. And if there is, they say, if they have a wedding planner, then that's awesome, because then I say I'll be talking to the wedding planner. They're the one in charge who knows what's going on, so I'll be communicating with them, not with the bride and groom.
And that's good. So then it's making sure that in your content messing, that you're also making sure that you address that kind of thing as well, so that it's not just that you're waiting until they've already approached you and you guys are talking, that you say these things.
Yeah.
Making sure that you're putting that out there so that people get that sense of, this is the expectation that's going to be there. And when you meet with them, that they're not going to be like, wow, what an added bonus. They're going to be like, well, I already know this. So that's why one of the many reasons I selected you.
So when I put that in the about section, about where would I add that content in?
So one, what you could do, so if we think of your website, you think of the about me. So if you started that off with kind of the little bit of the background story about you, how you kind of, as a kid you were always interested in it. You never really thought of it as a viable career path until one day you said, you know what, I'm just going to do this for fun, and then you started to see the possibilities. And then you can kind of lead that into, now, as a professional photographer, I've really, kind of honed down on what's my process, what's this is what you can expect out of working with me.
Okay.
And then you kind of finish it off with that call to action.
Okay.
But then also in your social media content, whether it's through stories, but even in the posting, even in the captions, right, where you can kind of talk a little bit about that. So if you think about the Canada Day couple with the lovely red dress, I saw that Instagram picture, where you could talk about their day was, they wanted to have fun. They're celebrating their wedding. They're doing it on Canada Day. She's got this gorgeous red dress. You wanted them to be able to focus on the amazingness that was their wedding, and you made sure that you let them do that because, you did, and then talk a little bit about your process.
Okay.
So you kind of let people in that way. I always like to think of Instagram as an opportunity for a microblog. So, don't be afraid to be putting 2 or 3 paragraphs in there.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that everybody's going to read those 2 or 3 paragraphs, but there's a good percentage of people that just love wasting time on Instagram, and they will.
Okay.
Right.
So somewhere like that, if I like write something out like a small paragraph,
Mm-hmm.
and direct them to my blog posts, where I'm starting to do is like, I'm not like, I want to show them that the day of all those pictures I took, but I'm not going to put them on my main page because I want to show my main best images on my wedding, on my website for wedding page.
Mm-hmm.
On the blog, I'm showing them like images from that day. So when the couples look, they can see throughout the day, like what they're going to see, what they get. So is that something like direct them to the site, to the blog, continue on with that story and have those images shown?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that kind of all makes sense. Does that the way that it strings together like that? Does that make sense to you guys?
Yep.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that is. I think that might wrap us up.
Awesome.
Awesome. So you guys will be receiving our last email today in 15 minutes. And what you will see in there, as it may or may not apply to you, what you will see, we've got an offer, something that we're just going to be doing a few times a year is a full brand audit. If that's something that interests you guys are certainly welcome to click through and learn more about it. We're looking at how can, kind of what we talked about yesterday from the brand management aspect, that really taking the time to really dive into your brand and how does it sit right now. And we would be offering up some recommendations on how you could be improving that a little bit further, and kind of some go to action pieces that you can follow through on. So that's in there for you to peruse, and keep an eye, because we definitely love doing stuff like this, and we've got more things up our sleeve for later on this year.
Cool.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to sign off. I've got a class to teach in 15 minutes. And we'll see you guys around.
Great.
Bye, guys.
Bye.